Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx with me, Devika Devan. On the 10th of August, during a private dinner event in Tampa, Florida, USA, Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir has issued a shocking and aggressive nuclear threat. Speaking to a selected audience, Munir stated that if Pakistan were to face an existential crisis, it would take half the world down with it. An unprecedented statement that came from a nuclear-armed state official on US soil has been made. Asim Munir also targeted India with a warning, stating that any future Indian dam constructions on the Indus River would be met with missile attacks, thus asserting that Pakistan has no shortage of missiles. Using a metaphor, he also compared India to a speeding Mercedes and Pakistan to a dump truck, suggesting a willingness to cause mutual destruction. Munir's second United States visit in 2 months has triggered international alarm over Pakistan's increasingly unrestrained nuclear posturing amid deteriorating relations with India. How seriously do we take this threat by Asim Munir, and why is the United States of America quiet on the fact that their ally, Pakistan's Field Marshal, has used their soil to make this threat not only to India, but to the world? We take this conversation forward. I have with me on the broadcast Ambassador Baswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, Major A.K. Sivach, former Chief of Territorial Army, senior defense expert with us. Adit Kothari, foreign affairs expert, will be joining me shortly. And I also have with me Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian. Let me begin with Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, same question to you that I posed in our introduction, ma'am. How seriously do we take this threat by Asim Munir, and what do we make of the fact that he is now emboldened enough to use American soil to make threats not just to India but to the world, saying that we will take down half of the world if we face a crisis?
Well, we must take it very seriously, Devika, because Pakistan does not have a no first use policy. We have. So the first thing we should do is we should change that no first use policy, because it is clear that our nuclear armed neighbor has a army chief, a so-called field marshal, who seems to think that he can use nuclear blackmail, not just on India, but on half the world. Secondly, that he is using the security of American soil to make such threats, not just to India, but to the region and to the world, demonstrates that he has now, as you rightly pointed out, become emboldened enough to make such threats. Secondly, when he says that he is going to use missiles to take down any embankment or any dam that we would construct on the Indus, on the river Indus on our side, we are the upper riparian state. He forgets a couple of things. First of all, that in Operation Sindoor, we demonstrated our ability to take down all Pakistan's missiles. Secondly, if there is a dam, and let us say that a missile hits it, all the water from the dam will go downstream at huge speed and will completely inundate Pakistan's side of the border. So it's not even good for Pakistan, what he's suggesting. His remarks on India being a speeding Mercedes-Benz and Pakistan being a dump truck actually has not gone down well in Pakistani social media. It's not flattering at all. All that it shows is a kind of suicidal mentality, which means that Pakistan as a dumper truck will bash the Mercedes and destroy it while destroying itself. Very much similar to the nuclear blackmail he used on us. If the Americans choose to keep quiet about what he has said, which they have, there is total silence on their part. It also demonstrates that we seem to have got ourselves into a situation where the United States, which is supposed to be our closest strategic partner in that part of the world, does not have any interest in India's security vis-a-vis Pakistan, and that too from a country headed by a president whose main interest appears to be to get the Nobel Peace Prize, maybe he will, maybe he thinks that this so-called field marshal, and I'm sure Major General Sivaj would agree with me that in armed forces, generals are promoted for victory, not for defeat. This must be the only case in the world where a general has been promoted to field marshal status. And field marshal status means, Devika, according to army terminology, that you must have won 2 wars, not one, to become field marshal. Okay, so this field marshal, who has become field marshal after losing Operation Sindoor, is now making these wild threats amounting to nuclear blackmail on American soil, headed by a president who keeps talking non-stop about how he's brought peace between India and Pakistan, how the Nobel Peace Prize should be given to him. I really wonder what kind of comment he will make on it. Maybe he will make those comments once this field marshal has left American soil. I think he was supposed to leave sometime today, but it's very shocking, and India has already reacted. And let him just try to send his missiles to us. Our Prime Minister has already said that Operation Sindoor has only been paused. Operation Sindoor was followed by Operation Mahadev, where our armed forces brought down the terrorists. If they want Operation Sindoor Phase 2, our armed forces and the entire country is prepared, and we are right behind our armed forces and our government. If they want to do this, so be it, Devika. Bharat, that is India, will teach this field marshal and his government a fitting lesson. Devika.
Okay, Joyita Basu, I want to bring you into the conversation, understand from your perspective, why would the US allow a Pakistani army chief to use their soil to make such comments? And of course, I'm not saying that they need to make someone in charge of Asim Munir whenever he visits the US to look into what he's going to say. Obviously, that's not possible. But do you think that some sort of condemnation should have come his way for the comments he's made and the way he's threatened India?
Well, you see, first of all, why would he be doing it from the US soil? If you're looking at that, I think the primary, I would say the reason is that he has some kind of a sense of entitlement has seemed to creep into him. He has started believing that he can get away literally by threatening a nuclear war and by threatening to take down half the world with him. At the same time, the US will not say anything, and that is what exactly he has read at least the Trump administration, right, that the US is not going to say anything, and that is what exactly has happened. You see, and if I am going to call Asim Munir a dog of war, the dogs of war, so it is basically America's responsibility to leash this dog. But the whole problem is that right now Asim Munir is riding high. You see, he thinks he can get away by saying anything. And you see, the problem that is happening with the US administration in particular is that, there are lots of thinkers, lots of, I would say, think tanks and all. There are lots of people in previous administration who are bemoaning the fact, the way Trump is treating India. But sadly enough, the immediate circle of Trump, particularly Rubio, Vance, all of them have good relations with India, but none of them, they do not have the courage to speak up and point it out that this whatever is going on is not the right way to go about it. It almost coming to look like everybody is intent on flattering Trump. They are all kind of behaving and acting like not only his master's voice, but they are actively literally they have made up, I would say, an industry out of flattering and massaging his ego. So, as a result of which, you see, when your people, your advisors do not have the courage to speak truth to power, you see, this is what happens. One of your basically vassals or somebody like that, they can go around talking things that will not be in normal diplomatic parlance, I guess in dealings with two countries or internationally, this is irresponsible rhetoric. You see, even I don't think even Kim Jong, that the North Korean leader also speaks like this. So, you see but something that you have to understand in this case, technically what the Americans will get away by saying is that, but how do we know that he said this? This is just based on a news report in India. There is no recording. This particular meeting that he held in Tampa, Florida, no one was allowed to carry a mobile phone in there. You see, so there was no recording whatsoever. So, it is just a case of an Indian media house has just made up this story. So, you see, technically they are right to say that, but the fact of the matter is that, well, it has happened. Indian media is not that irresponsible that they will cook up a story like that, and that particular report is based on talking, to several of the participants.
But Joyita, it's not like they've denied it either. It's not as though Pakistan has come out and denied and said, no, our air marshal, our army chief never said anything like that. Nobody stops them from denying it. You know that we live in a world where there is a lot of information warfare going on. So, basis that, nobody would have stopped them. They could have easily come and said nothing, no such thing happened.
Thing is that, you see, they don't have to say it. It is now incumbent on the journalists to ask them. You see, they are not going to say anything. First, ask the White House press briefing that happens every day. Ask the spokesperson over there. Ask the Pakistanis. So, it is the journalists will have to do this job, and let us see what the response comes from both US and from Pakistan.
Absolutely. Major A.K. Sivach, I'll bring you into the conversation in just a moment, sir. But I want to first ask a question to Adit Kothari on America. Adit, the fact that there's a closed door meeting that takes place in Tampa, Florida, where Asim Munir makes another threat towards India, and there is no recording, as Joyita pointed out, there is no way to really verify through any sort of recording what exactly was said. It does seem that there were people at that meeting, or there was an intention behind the comments that they must be leaked. As soon as that meeting is over, let me say something from American soil, so that once this is over, this does get out. That intention is very clear, basis the information we have right now. Why do you think he's chosen America, and why do you think America would allow Pakistan's army chief to make such comments from their soil?
So, Devika, I think it's a very pertinent question that you've asked, primarily because if you look at it historically over the last few months, Operation Sindoor has had a massive psychological impact on Pakistan. Almost 20% of their bases which were hit, it's now coming into evidence, which the Pakistanis, no matter how much of propaganda they may indulge in, somewhere even the Pakistani collective society also understands that yes, India did hit them right deep within their bases. And so there are questions looming within Pakistan about, national security. A lot of questions are also being raised as to, why are we allowing, a complete unhinged and madman like Asim Munir to have the controls of the nuclear power. The nuclear weapons in Pakistan. So that is one aspect of it. Why this was said in the United States is it's not for the international audience. It's not for the international media. It is primarily for the domestic audience and the audience in India, which basically questions the government of the day. So, this is basically hitting that particular particular audience. Now, where was this organized? This was organized by someone called Sajid Tarar. Sajid Tarar is an American Pakistani businessman who, prior to Operation Sindoor, was a pro-Modi individual. He hosted a lot of the Indian voices, including, people from the BJP, the ruling government in the United States. He's also the founder of the American Muslims for Republicans. So some dynamics has changed within the sort of Trump administration, which is why even Republicans are now sort of seeing themselves closer to Pakistanis. The Pakistani government, who they have been criticizing for the best part of the last decade or so as somebody they cannot trust, or as snakes, or different other adjectives that they've used against the Pakistanis. So much to say that India has to realize that it cannot rely on America as a strategic ally. Here is General Asim Munir, who's gone into somebody that we consider as our close friend, and is using their soil to propagate, this sort of war rhetoric, which is, it's truly to be frowned upon in this day and age. I mean, he spoke about, hitting India with missiles if India was to, create dams or build dams on the Indus. There were three missiles three tactical missiles which were fired during Operation Sindoor, and all three of them were, easily mitigated by the Indian defense system. So that is something which Asim Munir knows really well. But despite that, he's thought of, this being an important juncture as an important platform to use this to create and say that Pakistan is ready for any sort of eventualities against India. Devika.
Okay, Major Nake Savage, bringing into the conversations. As Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee had pointed out initially in her remarks about the fact that Asim Munir has not only made a nuclear threat, he is also now threatening further development on the Indus River, and as far as our dam constructions are concerned. From a military point of view, Major Nake Savage, how do we tackle that? Because ultimately, we have to continue on with our development. It can't be that Asim Munir makes a threat and we'll stop it. I'm sure that's not going to happen. But from a military point of view, sir, what is it that India needs to be prepared for? Because we, unfortunately, should not be taking these threats lightly. If Asim Munir is saying that I see one brick being put for your dam construction and we're going to blow it up with a missile, we've just seen how we can take on Pakistani missiles. That much is clear, that we have the technology now present and it's working really well. Is that something that we need to look at, Major Savage, in terms of deploying it at some of our critical locations up north?
Very correctly brought out, Devika. 4 things stand out. First of all, the nuclear weapons are not weapon of war. They are weapon of deterrence. And you cannot give saber rattling as far as the weapons of nuclear arsenal is concerned. No one gives in the world, including North Korea, which is not supposed to be a very stable country. Now, having said so, Asim Munir knows very well, though India do not have a first use policy, but we have a very robust second strike capability. We are one of that country which is tried. It means we are the 5 countries of the world which can fire a nuclear weapon from air, from ground, from sea and under the sea. So therefore, our second strike will be so potent that Pakistan's name will be wiped off from world map. That Pakistan knows it. So the point is, whatever saber rattling Asim Munir is doing, it is more for his domestic constituency and also to some international media. But should we take it lightly? I say no, of course we should not take it, because Operation Sindoor has displayed 2-3 things. One is the might of Indian power, because our BrahMos missile as well as Scalp missile could hit all the target. We neutralize their defense system, basically they have brought it from China HQ-9 and H-15, and their 2 aircraft, JF-17 and JF-10C, were found wanting in front of Indian aircraft. And their PL-15, beyond visual range air-to-air missile, was also not able to hit any target. They fired almost about 1,000 drones, 3 ballistic missiles, and a number of rockets, but none of them able to penetrate our multi-layered air defense system. Having said so, are we thinking that it will happen the same thing in future? Possibly not, because Pakistan is now being armed by China. They are also trying to get some weapon system from Turkey as well as from US. We have to be very careful. We have already raised our drone brigade. It is just recently raised about 7 to 10 days back. It has been announced by the Chief Army Staff, because we know it that the drones are the weapons of future. They were going to be a game changer and force multiplier, the way S-400 has done it. So I said that we should not take any threat of Pakistan lightly, because Pakistan is an unstable country, political instability, economic crisis, and terrorism increasing manifold. Pakistan can always go into a civil war, and to divert the attention, they can do anything. Now, having said so, what was the outcome of Operation Sindoor, that which has rattled us? See, in Operation Sindoor, it was a one-sided game the type of punishment which we have given to Pakistan, Pakistan knows it that on 6th, 7th night, we could easily destroy the 9 terror infrastructure. We could destroy the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Toba, Jaise Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen at Mudirka, Bahawalpur and Muzaffarabad. And when they retaliated, when we strike on 9th and 10th May, we have hit their 11 frontline airfield, starting from Skardu to Jacobabad, very close to the Karachi, which include Sargoda, Noor Khan, Rahim Yar Khan, Bolari. We could hit and destroy their 7 to 8 aircraft, including AVAX. And it is also allegedly reported that one could hit in Kirana Hill, which was very close to Sargoda, where nuclear arsenal of Pakistan was stored. So having said so, we no doubt about it, it was one-way game. But as on today, you cannot take whatever rhetoric which are coming from Pakistan lightly. We should be prepared for a worst case scenario in future. They are going to, I suppose they are going to now build on their air defense system, which was found wanting. They will try to get more drones, especially from Turkey in future. So we should be prepared. Now, what should be the world communities do? You see, the day when he has spoken on 9th August, this is the day 80 years back when the US has used an atom bomb on Nagasaki in Japan. Now, the point which is coming is the way immature statement are being given that if we go down, we will take 50% of the world. It means that they are not very serious. They can use this nuclear weapon. Therefore, the nuclear weapons are not safe. Pakistan should be declared as a terrorist state, and Financial Action Task Force should put them again in the grey list for money laundering, terrorist funding, and also a rattling of this nature. I suppose Pakistan is not a stable country. And once they are thinking that America is their friend, they have forgotten the history. You remember from Ayub to Jia, from you can say Munir to Musharraf. Every time US has used them and thrown them. It is not that they will always keep them as a friend. As of today, Donald Trump need Pakistan as a frontline state. Basically, if they have to go against Iran, they wanted to use their air bases and logistic buildup, possibly against Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, which is in Afghanistan, and to some extent, surveillance on Afghanistan, China and Russia. But having said so, one should know it that it will not remain the same way throughout. And they are trying to make use of this rift, possibly which has occurred now in between US and India relation. And that's why he has selected US as a place where he has done this writing. It was not important what he said. It was more important what he said where. And this is what has to be taken seriously. Maybe a private dinner party which was hosted by one of the businessmen of a Pakistan origin. But a statement like this coming from Asim Munir, it speaks that Pakistan is an unstable country. They can go to any extent. And
yes.
He has, Devika.
Yes, Ambassador Basudin Mukherjee, I want to understand from you, ma'am, do we now raise some sort of a protest with the US as well at this point in time? Do we at least raise it with them that, it's unacceptable? How are you allowing these statements to come in?
No, Devika. We should not raise it with the US at all. We have already issued a very balanced statement. The Americans understand very well what is MAD in the Cold War. MAD in the Cold War was mutual assured destruction. This so-called field marshal is going back to the language of Cold War I, mutual assured destruction. The Mercedes-Benz will be taken on by the dumper truck, and if half the world goes down with the Mercedes-Benz and the dumper truck, so be it. Then it would include, for instance, China. The radiation would affect China. The radiation would affect Sri Lanka. The radiation, depending on the air current, could reach as far as Japan. Now, that may not affect the white man, who in any case unleashed the 2 nuclear bombs on yellow man's territory, without selecting Germany, which is white man's territory. But this has much more serious implications. Moreover, if he is going to take half the world down with him, we can take the rest of the world down also, in which case the entire world would be destroyed. So he is not talking to a country that is not a nuclear weapon state. He is talking to a country with a nuclear arsenal which needs to very urgently stop its no first use policy in view of these threats. There should be an urgent meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Security, and this policy should be changed within 24 hours. Secondly, I completely agree with Major General Sivaj that what is important is not what he said, but where he said it. If as I think it was in a private dinner, then these remarks have been leaked. Now consider this, Devika. These remarks which have been leaked may be of extreme embarrassment to Trump and his administration. We don't know yet. Why should we get into it at all? He has used American territory to threaten nuclear war on India and half the world. It is for the United States to know how to cope with such threats emanating from the safe soil of Tampa, Florida. They have to deal with it. In our case, we deal with it as follows. A, we've issued the statement. B, we change our no first use policy. 3, we immediately start stockpiling as we are doing now. Army, Navy, Air Force. In fact, PM is on record in telling the Navy chief that maybe the next time for the continuation Operation Sindoor, Navy will come before Army and Air Force. That means there are some strategies which our armed forces have worked out. We just have to now just focus non-stop on building up our drones, our missiles, our aircraft, and suited to what, for instance, the Indian Air Force and Indian Army wants with regard to aircraft, what the Navy wants with regard to submarines, etc., according to what we require. That's it. If in the process the F-35 does not suit our requirements, we will not take F-35. We will go back to the Russians. If F-35, on the other hand, the Army and Air Chief tell us that they need a few, we will take it. We will go exactly by what our Army Chiefs tell us is good to defend our territory against such rogue states whose so-called field marshal is speaking in the language which, as Joyita correctly pointed out, has never even been used by the dictator of North Korea. Even Kim Jong-un has never used such language, which
Yes.
is used. First time, even in the Cold War, such language was never used. I don't remember. I was a student of the Cold War. I don't recall such open nuclear threats coming. And if he thinks he's going to scare us into what we've done for the Indus Water Treaty, forget it. We have already gone a long way, desilting, etc., and we will do what it suits us to do. He wants to break some dam on the Indus water, which shows that he has no clue how dams operate. It will inundate the lower riparian, which is Pakistan. I think this so-called field marshal maybe should take some lessons in engineering, etc., and maybe he should also understand that sometimes, a Mercedes can survive, but a dumper truck does not. Maybe that's what we should tell him privately.
Right, absolutely. And on that note, Joyita wants to make a quick point. Joyita.
You see, the point I want to make is about we should be taking this seriously. It is more than big talk, primarily because you see Asim Munir is known as somebody, we have to watch out whether this is dog whistling or not. If you remember, before the Pahalgam attack, the kind of stuff that he said at that time, that how Hindus and Muslims cannot live together, and the kind of rubbish he talked about India, it was some kind of a dog whistle to basically to terrorists to carry out some kind of an attack against India. I am a little worried, primarily because you see this is also coming across as some kind of a dog whistle. So, we have to be very careful in the next few weeks and months about, you do not know what this Pakistan terrorist state is capable of, and now they think they have got Trump's backing.
Right, absolutely. On that note, I thank all of our panelists for joining us to take that conversation forward. We have some breaking news coming in as well.